Good evening and welcome to yet another edition of Meet MAHE Dubai Online. I'm Bhakti Reen. I head the UAE admissions team. On behalf of MAHE Dubai, I would like to wish everybody Ramadan Kareem and thank you for joining us today. Unlike our previous webinars, today our focus will be the School of Business at Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Dubai. To shed light on the School of Business, we have with us today Dr. Jason Fitzsimmons, Chairperson of the School of Business, and Dr. Rajesh Pai, Program Chair for the MBA program. We will start our webinar with a presentation on how to protect our business now and thrive in the future by Dr. Rajesh Pai, followed by Dr. Jason providing us an insight into the School of Business. While the sessions are ongoing, please share your queries, questions in the chat box located in the control panel. We will cover these towards the end of our session. Dr. Jason and I take your leave now as Dr. Pai starts his presentation.
Hi. Hello. Good evening, everyone. The topic would be how to protect your business today and thrive in future. Now, this has become a very important hot topic in business schools, in forums, in business across the globe. Now, that's the challenges which we'll be facing across all streams. So I have a few discussion points across on this. So one of the important format of the business game is you have your customer base, you have your employees base. That's the important stakeholders. The communications becomes extremely important, and it has to be a two-way channel with the employees which you are working with, because they are one of the very important way to project your customers. So your employees has to be properly communicated on the first instance. Your customers needs to be communicated, and your all this supply chain and your all your staffs has to be really communicated very well on your communications. The next is we have intentional value attached. It's not only the communication, that's a value system of the company actually brings shed light into this communication. So how good you are, and your intentional value should be attached over a period of time. The employees should be feeling for you, and for even for customers, they should be having and felt. Now, this is where generally lot of companies has made a very important role in communication strategy. So there is a corporate communication person generally involved in a company, and your communication has a well drafted and sent across. So one of the first few instances which happened as an examples across the globe is communication. So that becomes extremely important. Next is communications on fortnight basis. General way of communication is that you send an email, and then after 3 months you send the next chance. No, during this tough period, during the tough periods, the communications has to be on a fortnight basis. That means the communications pattern has to increase in every 15 days. Now, these are the one of the ways to get in line with always the business premises running around. Next is invest in remote work technology. There has been few instances where the companies has taken a very delayed progression in remote work technology. For example, a company like TCS, where there are around 250,000 employees, which is located across the globe. And one of the February meetings, they had very clear projections that how will the work will happen across the globe, because now these companies are actually serving what big clients across the globe. Now, in the case of work from home, whether the client will be happy, but TCS immediately invested on the work from home technology, and this is the biggest factor. Even in the few last quarterly results, when TCS was out, you could see the few factors which is attaching there. They have done fantastically well in the last quarter, even though from February series they had a very bad framework because of COVID. But in work from home technology, work remote technology has actually helped them to reach into a greater scale. Now, for a few of the examples, what I can do is probably given from a Chinese perspective itself. Alibaba made Alibaba Ding Talk. We had a WeChat working, Tencent's meeting. Now, these are few of the technological framework where, and organization has to invest on immediately. That's only because when you're having a communication pattern which is lined, okay, and you have to have an excellent remote work technology to make it happen. Now that's the second phase. The third is because every business has seen this for the first time. So we don't have a history pattern of this actual model, what COVID has happened. Probably from even from a January perspective, January 31st, no companies actually expelled or probably thought that this would end up in a very drastic situation in a business collapse. Over a period from February 15, that's when the companies actually started looking out this model. So this is very important to prepare in disaster preparedness. The question is, few companies in US, even though the lockdown was not successfully implemented in US perspective, but few of the companies in California and Silicon Valley, they have actually prepared a very effective disaster preparedness plan. A few of around 20 companies has actually moved their base to Vietnam in February 23rd. Now that is exactly where the business should be looking in for. So you will have your disaster preparedness plan prepared well in advance, and this is where what is that? A good detailed plan, how my business is going to get functional across the streams without distraction any working force. Next is insurance cover of the business. Many businessmen or many business units do not have to concentrate more on the insurance detailed coverage. How we can do this policy framework when such disaster is happening. So there are insurance company who actually give a background a coverage for this plans. The many of the organizations also do not read properly the insurance coverage plans which is attached. A few of the insurance company in US had already had this clause at behind. When something a disaster happens, and this is by way after the 2001 terrorist attack, okay, so these are the insurance policy coverage. So actually from a business point of view, if you must have had an well planned insurance cover for these business, it must have helped you in your business because they treat well on the insurance cover policy. Next is how to get financing when no one is investing. This is very important. Generally, when there is a low downturn which is happening across the business model, nobody want to like to invest in new ventures. So there are a lot of capital requirements which are opportunity cost for the banks or few of the foreign institutional investors, or probably from few of high net worth individuals who are actually having funds but they don't know when to park. And this can be a methodology which the business can actually utilize in such modality. The next is, what's the lines of credit which is taken place? The lines of credit can be your banks, okay. In the case of a working capital management, that's I'm talking about the bottom part of the balance sheet. A very important part is the company should be running, having a working capital management system intact, and it should be working across the panel. So we have something called a lines of credit. So can we change the banking system? Can we change the banks because the interest rate what we are paying is extremely high for the business? So this is an opportunity where the business has to take place into existence. There can be few good banks. For example, there are a lot of banks in UAE who is actually giving you the best rates right now. That is after February 25. So you have to know in your when your business is running with an higher interest, you have to see that can you create a plan which is very quick in action to shift with other banks, and so that I can reduce my interest which I am paying. So this is again a disaster preparedness plan where you have to do a quick. You may be banking with this bank for almost like 5 to 10 years. That's not a problem, but you're getting a cash discount right now. Next is your supply chain alternatives. Now, what the supply chain alternatives? It now, because of the globalization, we have something called as a global supply chain, which is connecting across the dots across the world. If there is one supply chain broken, you are not able to run your business model. So there can be an alternative supply chain which can create a value for the business. Next slide. So now, what companies need to think and act across 5 horizons. So the first one is resolve. The first is immediately there should be a challenges of COVID and try to represent the institution's workforce, customers, technology, and business partners. Now we have to resolve if there is any problem. The first is as I told you, we have a stakeholders. Now, who are the stakeholders for a business? It can be a workforce, very, very important stakeholders, because without that, your business cannot run. You have a customer's workplace. You have your technology insights and your business partners. Now, these are important thing to resolve with all the four, so that your stakeholders in a company is actually protected much. Next is resilience. So here the address the near-term cash management. You may have a cash management crunch. That's only because you're not been receiving, you're receiving cash, your business is not going. So now we are going during the economic shutdowns, and that is where I told your resilience has to be adjusted with the cash management. So you have to look at a different banks who can offer a cheaper rate of cash when you're paying, or else you have to do an cash management, which is very important to get into, because the bottom part of the balance sheet or your cash management becomes very, very critical. For a long-term asset generation or in capital budgeting, it is not very important to look at this moment. So this is your resilience. The next is return, and create a detailed plan to return business to scale quickly as COVID. Now, what it involves is I have spoken about a detailed plan, and now how fast you are revolving into the business, and the effects has to become very, very clearer, because what you are going to see, the return mechanism, it will not be so easy like before. So it will be a new mechanism how you are going challenging return. Now, it is not like a 2008 global crisis where the return was a V-shaped recovery. Now, this is persistent. The number of cases can come down. So a lot of countries has actually done and lockdown, and you can see the number, the curve literally flattening, but you don't know whether the curve again, when there is a curve which is coming up. So this is very important. The return for the business, it's extremely challenging, and the return is not like an 2008 global crisis return. It is a different return game how and business has to look at. The next is very important for a company or a business unit is reimagination. How do you reimagine, or how do you discover new models? For example, if you have read or if you have gone through in 2008, in 2008 recessionary period, the top 10 companies by market capitalization today is the one which it was discovered in 2008 global crisis. So why in 2008 global crisis? Because in 2008 global crisis was the first like slot. We had something called as in 2001 crisis, dot-com bubble, then we went into 2007 2008 business crisis. Now that was the first time where even the business unit were testing, but you can see the top 10 companies which emerged as a global leader was actually started in 2008. Now the question is how probably the thinking process has to get changed, and that's where the reimagination is coming into perspective. You have to continuously, now this does by implications by how the institutions reinvent. We have an employees reinventing, we have design team reinventing, we have strategic framework of a company's reinventing. Now this is done generally by the top management. This is not generally done by a middle management or a lower management, but this has to be included from the perspective of employees also. Now that's reimagination. Now a few of the companies have actually done a different business model which is going to get launched in another 2 months. They have never tested there, but the testing is already going on in R&D. So two sectors which is actually doing really well is, one is pharma sectors because the conditions are like that, and one is FMCG sector, which is a fast moving consumer goods, and there also the reimagination process is driving. But from a technology perspective, let's say any other business model, all are going into reimagination model, and that would help in the next decade. Probably we are expecting around 2021 model to hit for the next around 10 years, a decade. Next is reform. The reform is be clear how you are regulatory and competitive over a period of time. Your reforms has to be changed. What you are looking, a regulatory environmental threshold will be there. Now why I'm talking about reform and environmentally threshold is, you could see every time this is the first time acting, a crude oil or oil prices plunging into negative. Now this has never been happened in any part of the world, or this is the first time which is happening. But can you tell that whether the oil prices will remain zero? No, this is an opportunity which, and sometimes a business really has to take on in for. But the futures price in oil is almost like $45. So what happens is you have to utilize this opportunity. Now why I'm talking about this reforms is because from a regulatory and competitive environments there will be a pressure. So there can be and regulatory changes, for example, for a banks, for a financial institutions, for a business. For example, let's say if you are in a trading business, in country can actually put an regulatory. Now this is exactly which is leading it to countries like China, where they are investing in a lot of other companies assets base. For example, Bank of China has started investing in European markets. Bank of China has started investing in US markets. And of late in Indian markets also, there has been a lot of investment from China. The question is, how does the FDI policy, that means an foreign institutional investors or a foreign policy which is coming into a reform in our country. Now this is very important because a regulatory mechanism has already changed. So this is how the companies need to rethink across the five horizons. Next. So I told about rethinking patterns. So we have something called as social contracts. Now what social contracts is, generally with a government or generally with a state which is running, or a government which is playing. So you have a power shift transformation which is happening. I'm not talking only from a UAE perspective, I'm talking from a global perspective. So a rethinking social contracts has to shift the platforms from a long held explanations. That's only because from a financial and treasury role, these are important social contracts which an organizations or an institutions can also arrange. So this can be an advantage because rethinking our social contracts with the government and the state government. Mobilizing resources with the speed and scale. So what's mobilizing resources? Now mobilizing is how fast you are able to get into. Now this is the revamping strategy, the top revamping. For example, ITC in India, an FMCG giant, that's a fast moving consumer goods giant, they have added the 40% capacity. So you had a lockdown for a period of 21 days, and that's the end of it. Now ITC did not think that there is no value opportunity. There was a value opportunity, and you could see how ITC in Haryana just added a 40% extra capacity with the worker shift, and at the end of the day they have made an extremely good model, increasing the production capacity from 80 to 120%. Now this has gained and larger profits for the company. China added tens of thousands of doctors, or hospitals was constructed in fast, even though it was from China where the virus has started. The question is, how did an business or an organization or a country as such handle such situations? So there are several governments invested in new tools. For example, Finland as a country has invested in new tools on huge economic stipulation purposes. I'll not go into too much of detail how the Finnish government has handled the small business units, but it has been handled so that the small business is not having a problem to continue on the business model. And the last is, we had a lot of globalization. Now this has affected a lot of global companies which is putting across the products across the world. Now what's moving right now is from a globalization to a regionalization. Over a period of time, what you see is the domestic demand has actually picked up rather than an internationalization. That's because my supply chain was actually making a big way across. And if my supply chain in a global area get blocked, I am not able to serve across my regionalization. Now that's the reason where your regionalization is important before a globalization. A lot of companies have actually gone down and saw the pattern that I will not do an 100% export. That means I may get a revival by foreign exchange. That means the currency which is coming into my system or into my country. At the end of the day, I'm looking out for more regionalization. Now, this is what massive restructuring has been going on across the foreign platforms, across the best companies in the world. Now, for example, a company like Reliance Jio, okay, generally a joint venture, you don't see anything which is happening in mergers and acquisitions or reinvestment pattern, which was. So actually, it was very, very skeptical to look out, but that is exactly when the Reliance did a deal with Facebook and increased the valuation strategy. Generally, during any of such deals, people tell it is very risky to venture into new business, and this is where it has been crafted. So there are always an opportunity during the pandemic, or probably when you're telling when the market is down. Now that's exactly, people tell that there is an valuable opportunity, but you have to foresee the opportunity and run through your business. So what are the three takeaways which I probably take it from this few minutes of my slide presentation? One is your visit your insurance company very clearly and see to that from an insurance perspective you can cover the losses. This is very, very important, because there are few companies in US which already did this kind of strategy. Now these are the guys who pays the premium very high, but they could cover during this model. The second is the cash flows. The cash flows get a short-term impact on cash flows is always there on the balance sheet. You have to reworking on your working capital management tools. You have to go to the banks and look in after. The next one would be to look in for your capital budgeting. Don't take too much risky investment in the new investment decisions, and that would be capital budgeting. So a quick analysis. One is the insurance, the second is the cash flows, and the third one is do not take capital budgeting into business arena right now. Wait for a moment, understand the market scenario, and then you can move. So this is my presentation. So now this is the end of my presentation. Now I would move on to the next session, handled by Dr. Jason Fitzsimmons, Chairperson, School of Business. Thank you.
Great, thanks very much, Dr. Rajesh. A good presentation there, and very interesting to see what we can do with the current situation we have and what we need to keep into account. And as Ms. Bhakti mentioned, I'm the chairperson for the School of Business. And the School of Business at MAHE Dubai, we are the largest school within the institution. Around 4 out of 10 students are doing business, to give you an idea of the need for business graduates in the community there. So we have a full range of courses, ranging from a foundation program right through to undergraduate, right through to postgraduate programs, including a PhD. The other thing we keep in mind with study these days is that we need that flexibility. So we have a range of programs with that flexibility and convenience that suits you in doing your programs. We have day programs, we have evening programs, and we also have the weekend programs for those who need to study on the weekend there. So very focused around meeting the needs of our learners. Our faculty, a majority are PhD qualified. They have a good mix of academics and industry experience. We have a number of adjuncts with real world professional experience in the domains that students are studying. So we mix this with very practical teaching methods, as well as practical authentic assessment methods. So we have a big emphasis on making sure that the learning pedagogy is consistent with the kind of skills and outcomes you'll need for the business environment. Along with that, we ensure that there's a very close link with industry, with business, and with government. And we do that through a range of activities. We have professional workshops, we have seminars, we have an advisory committee for our programs to ensure that the syllabus meets the needs of what industry actually wants. Besides that, our faculty are also heavily engaged with consultancy to make sure they're in the thick of what's required in terms of the business environment there. Along with that, we have a big emphasis on research, and I think it's important for academics to make sure they have that balance of real world as well as research, and we bring that research back into the teaching environment there. And of course, lastly, careers are very important to us as graduates. And we're very focused on the need to ensure that we have the right career development opportunities while students are studying. So we have internships, we have placement support, and we place a big emphasis on making sure that the outcomes and the graduates meet the needs of industry and get the opportunity to get engaged with industry there. So moving on, just to give you a brief indication of the types of programs there, if we can just move to that next slide there. Looking at the range of programs offered, as I mentioned, we have undergraduate programs and postgraduate programs. Undergraduate programs, we have our BCom professional and we have our BBA program. Now, the BBA program, we offer in 2 modes, as a day program as well as an opportunity to study in the evening mode for those working professionals. At the BCom professional, we have 2 options there. We have our BCom professional program offered during the day, and we also have a BCom professional that's heavily entwined with the ACCA professional certification. And students can actually pursue that certification while they're doing their BCom program there. At the postgraduate level, we have a few options as well. We have an MBA as well as an MBA Global Business program. So the MBA program is our work mode MBA program. It's flexible. It's offered during both the evening and the weekend, and that's typically geared towards working professionals. At the same time, we have a MBA Global Business, which is a full-time day program. It's a multi-country program. We have an experience in Asia. We have an experience in the Middle East, and we give exposure to the European environment. It's really designed to develop future global business leaders who have a experience in working and interacting and studying in those particular environments. Other than that, we have a shorter program. We have a range of PG diplomas, postgraduate diplomas in business administration and in logistics and supply chain. So these are shorter programs that enable students to undergo a period of study in a particular domain area and be able to do that within a 1-year period. And of course, we have a PhD in management, which we introduced the last couple of years. Again, that's a full-time program and very important for us to engage with research, particularly in the PhD area. So just moving on to the next slide there, I want to start to think about at the undergraduate level, the question we often get asked is, should I pursue a BBA or should I pursue a BCom professional? And that's an interesting question. You need to think about that if you're about to undergo your bachelor's program there. Which one should you undertake? They're both 3-year programs. You can complete them in the same period of time, but you need to think about where your career interests lie. Where would you want to spend your life building your career there? For those doing the BCom professional, they tend to be those who are more interested in the accounting side and the finance side, looking for careers in accounting, looking for careers in auditing, or looking for career as a business analyst. They would be the kinds of careers you would choose if you're interested in the BCom professional. It's geared towards that. It's aligned with the accounting and finance subjects, and it's also aligned with the ACCA professional qualification. So the subjects in that program are heavily aligned with the ACCA program. So think about it from your perspective as a career. If you see yourself in the area of accounting, which is actually a growing industry and expected to continue to grow, then definitely a career in accounting or in auditing would be something to consider. The other alternative is a BBA, the Bachelor's of Business Administration. And this is a more generalist bachelor's program in business, and it can enable you to develop a career across various fields of management. So it could be marketing, it could be HR, it could be finance, could even perhaps be logistics. So the program's built around 2 years as general management subjects to give you a broad exposure to a range of functional business areas. And then in the 3rd year, and you've got the first 2 years to think about this, you can specialize in a particular area. So at the moment, we have specializations in finance, we have specializations in marketing, in human resource management, and in logistics and supply chain management. So a range of options you can utilize there. As well as that, we also try and have linkages with professional certifications. So we try and integrate those specializations with the needs of professional bodies, encouraging students to actually join those professional bodies while they're students. And that could be in the area of CIMA, Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, in terms of the Chartered Institute for Marketing, or in logistics area, have the Chartered Institute for Procurement and Supply. So we try and enable that industry linkage while you're doing those programs. So the choice is yours. It's something to think about, and certainly faculty would be more than happy to guide you if you have any questions related to those particular programs, and try and get yourself on a pathway that's going to lead you to a career that's going to suit your skills and ability and interests. So moving on one more, if we look at the postgraduate level there, a question is always asked is, why should I do an MBA? And many people do want to do an MBA. I think it's an automatic progression once they finish their undergraduate degree. And I suggest that, yeah, continue to consider the MBA. The MBA is always meant to be a generalist degree for those who have a number of years of working experience. Why you would consider an MBA? It's got two clear advantages. Firstly, it does enable you to get an increase in your knowledge across a broad range of functional areas. As well as that, it also gives you the opportunity to build your networks there, to be able to understand what you need to do to develop your networks and to be able to develop your not only your networking with your fellow students, but also the industry perspective there. Secondly, the MBA enables you to gain industry experience, specialist knowledge across a range of functional areas of business. As well as that, it also enables you to have some sort of specialization. So we do have the opportunity in the MBA program to pursue a specialization across a range of areas, from finance, marketing, entrepreneurship, healthcare marketing, healthcare management, for example, a number of range of areas. Why would you do an MBA? There's two general reasons why people would pursue an MBA. Firstly, there'll come a stage where you need to take the next step in terms of your career progression and see the broader picture within the organization. That's when an MBA is very valuable for those who are entering that mid to senior level management and need a broader overview of the entire business perspective there. The second reason, and we tend to see a lot of people from the engineering science backgrounds who moving from a technical field back into the management field and want to change their career direction by getting more into management. And that'd certainly be a good reason to undertake an MBA in that particular case. So again, it's a broad degree across a range of functional areas. You can specialize, so you can develop your career in a range of specializations, whether it be marketing, whether it be accounting, human resource, finance, or even perhaps public relations, if you want to be a specialist in that particular area there. So well worth considering for those two perspectives. Career advancement, the first one, and career change, the second one. So moving on to think about the kinds of postgraduate programs we have, we can just move to the next slide. Again, you've got to consider whether or not at your particular stage of your career, if you've got your bachelor's degree and you've been working and need to consider going for a master's, that's a 2-year program. You have to consider whether or not you can commit to 2 years, commit to four semesters of study, or whether you want to pursue a shorter program first to get your postgraduate diploma in business administration before articulating. So we do have the option of a postgraduate diploma in business administration, which is a 1-year program. You can complete that in 2 semesters, and you can then progress to the MBA if you wish. So again, the postgraduate diploma, we have 2 types there. We actually have the postgraduate diploma in business administration as well as one in logistics and supply chain management specifically. The postgraduate diploma in business administration, good for those who want to shift careers or develop a career in management, marketing, or analytics. We have specializations there. So we have a specialization in management, we have a specialization in digital marketing, business analytics, as well as hospitality and tourism. So you have that opportunity if you wish to change careers or get a leg up in a specific area there, in that area. Again, we align with the professional certifications where we can. So with the digital marketing perspective, we have the Chartered Institute of Marketing tie-up there. So that you have that option. If you go for the MBA route, again, it's a 2-year program, as we said. We also got the opportunity to do the global business, which is the day program in that. Very similar approaches to the style of business. The Master of Administration is evening and weekend. Again, you have the opportunity to specialize. So they could be in finance, marketing, HR, logistics, healthcare management, or entrepreneurship. You can get careers, increase your career opportunities in a particular area that's related to your specialization. Or you could be using the MBA to develop your career further in your own organization there. Again, for those specializations, we do try and get people to link up with industry certifications where possible. So the choice is yours in terms of whether you want to pursue a postgraduate diploma first or go straight to the Masters of Business Administration. Both would enable you to develop your career. Both give you the opportunity to change careers if that's what you're looking to do. So lastly, if we just move to the last slide there, I won't take up too much time here. I just want to give you a bit of an overview of the School of Business. Very important these days that the School of Business, particularly at MAHE Dubai, is about developing globally experienced leaders of the future. So it's important to get that international perspective. So we have a range of opportunities to do that during the program. We have study abroad study tours. We have semester abroad. We have articulation agreement. And we have these with a number of universities, including the 3 you can see on the screen there. And we try to have a relationship with a group, at least within every continent. So we have the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, France, Germany, the US, any places that you consider, we try and make sure we've got international linkages, which does include those university students coming to visit us or international faculty coming to study. So that's just a quick, broad overview of the School of Business, and certainly we welcome any questions you have in that area. And I'd certainly hand back to Bhakti now to take us forward there. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you for the informative and engaging session, Dr. Rajesh and Dr. Jason. While our focus today was the School of Business, Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Dubai offers a wide range of courses at undergraduate, postgraduate, foundation, certificate programs, and PhD level. MAHE Dubai has 5 schools and 1 department: the School of Engineering and IT, School of Business, School of Media Communication, School of Life Sciences, School of Design and Architecture, and Department of Arts and Humanities. To know more about our programs, please connect with our admissions team. You will also see a handout tab in the control panel from where you can download our brochure. Moving on to scholarships. In a way to motivate deserving candidates, Manipal Academy of Higher Education Dubai offers scholarships in different categories. You can apply for a scholarship based on merit with your academic grades, or apply for a sports scholarship based on your achievements in sports. An alumni scholarship for students interested in further studies is also available. All our scholarships are offered for the duration of your course, provided you meet the eligibility requirements. We will now move on to answer your questions. Dr. Rajesh, I have the first question for you.
Yeah.
What will be the impact of COVID-19 on the finance economy after this pandemic is over?
Okay. I would not tell an greater impact will be there, because this is one of the first things which we are looking out. But I think the corporations and companies, and it will have a very small effect on small scale industries, but not large effect on the companies as such, because the plans of dwelling it is well into the peak. 8 months to 10 months, yes, from a cash flow perspective, there can be an impact, but I would definitely see not a major impact. It can be an V-shaped recovery across.
All right.
Thank you.
Dr. Jason, we have the next question for you coming in from Sarah. Is there an option to take up dual specialization in MBA?
Yes, there actually is there. So the MBA, as I said, the 3rd and 4th semesters are geared towards the specializations, the option there of pursuing a specialization in both semesters. So it is actually a dual specialization MBA. You can choose subjects in semester 3 in one specialization, semester 4 in another specialization there. So it gives people a bit of flexibility in terms of what's required in the marketplace. You know, we've had some students who've had a single specialization suddenly realize that they would have benefited more from having a dual specialization there. So yes, the MBA does give you that dual specialization option there, which is also the case for the MBA Global Business Program.
A question coming in from Deepika with regards to place. Yes, MAHE on campus.
Okay.
We've got another question coming in, Dr. Jason, for you. Do we have specializations of hospitality and tourism?
We do indeed. We have that at the undergraduate level at the moment. We also have that for the PG Diploma in Business Administration, Hospitality and Tourism. And that's certainly one of the areas in the UAE that's important to the business in this region. So we do offer that for the BBA at the moment and the postgraduate diploma. At the MBA level, depending on demand, we have an option for that as well.
Can I cope up with a job and studies? How flexible?
Yeah, so I missed half of that back to you in terms of your audio there, but I think that the question was related around finding that flexible work-life study balance. And we have a number of our programs we're trying to deliver in a more flexible mode. That includes the BBA, because we understand there's a lot of students who have never pursued university education, but we'd like that opportunity. We have the BBA offered in evening mode, so they can work during the day and study during the evening, as well as the PG Diploma program. So both the PG Diploma in Business Administration and the PG Diploma in Logistics and Supply Chain are offered in evening mode. As well as that, obviously, the most flexible we have is the MBA program, which is offered in either the evening mode or the weekend mode. And students can switch between those modes from semester to semester to suit their lifestyle, suit their work commitments, suit their family commitments there. So it's very important for us to have that flexibility, and we certainly have that in as many programs as we have there.
And Dr. Jason, do students also have the option to switch between the weekend and the evening batches as well?
Sure. So we get that flexibility. Students are generally assigned to either an evening batch or a weekend batch. And from a semester to semester basis, we try and get students to stick to that in terms of the assessment and the group work and everything else. But we do have flexibility from a daily perspective. You know, sometimes there may be a student who has a work meeting or a business trip during the week. They can come and pick that up on the weekend. It's the same repeat lecture on the weekend there. So yes, you can have that flexibility, although we try to encourage students to remain in a particular mode for a semester at a time there. But certainly we want to make it as flexible as possible.
Thank you. We have another question coming from Jaya with regards to the university's recognition and accreditation. So let me just tell you, MAHE Dubai is recognized and accredited by the University of Grants Commission India, Ministry of Human Resource Development India, and the Knowledge Human Development Authority of the UAE. In fact, in the latest rankings of KHDA, Manipal Dubai was ranked 4 stars, which is a feat only a handful of universities have been able to achieve. Moving on to our next question. Dr. Rajesh, this is for you. What sort of job opportunities does MAHE offer?
Okay, MAHE Dubai offers actually a lot of opportunities in logistics, supply chain management, and finance, marketing. All the scopes are presently there in MAHE Dubai. So we have a career fair where around 80 companies come and pick our students. Last year we had a fantastic picking up from a finance point as well as from an operations point. But mainly from an MBA perspective, we have something called as an internship programs, which will be done at the end of the second semester. So generally, a student goes into do an internship, and many of the students get a pre-placement offer from the companies itself, around 40 to 50%, and remaining comes from a career fair or from the career services team. This is how the MAHE Dubai helps the students to get. Off late, probably I can add one more. Off late, hospitality management companies and service companies has also been coming and picking our students for summer internship program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh. Dr. Jason, we have a question coming in for you. Is there an option to take up dual specialization in the MBA program?
Yes. As I mentioned before, that the MBA program and the MBA Global Business Program, there is the option for that dual specialization. So some students might want to do a finance, some people may want to do marketing, dual specializations. We tend to find that in terms of the popularity, that the most popular specialization streams tend to be finance, followed by marketing, followed by logistics, would be the three particular areas that are most in demand there. So again, students may be in a certain field and career at the moment, they may choose to extend their knowledge there in that particular specialization, but they get that opportunity to do the second specialization as well. So yes, that's the opportunity, dual specialization.
Rajesh coming in from Adarsh. Dr. Rajesh, he asked, will Dubai be open for expatriates in 2 years' time? Policy is going higher.
Bhakti, I didn't hear that question. Can you please repeat?
Okay, I'll repeat. Sure. Will Dubai be open for expatriates in 2 years' time, considering that GCC is going high on emiratization?
Okay, and good question. Generally, yeah, at present there is a 40% emiratization process across in GCC, and the level up from a UAE government is to increase it to 50. But that doesn't mean the opportunities for other expat regionals will come down. There is Dubai is a hub for a new business. Dubai is a hub for new testing. So definitely emiratization process will go on, but the opportunities will in Dubai will still exist in future. So you could see definitely a renewable energy fintech which is coming up. So there are flooding with opportunities actually in Dubai in a different sphere.
So Rajesh, we also have a question with regards to scholarships for the MBA program. As mentioned previously, we have a range of scholarships available. You will find their details on the website or get in touch with the admissions team. For you, I am confused if I should become ACCA or a BCom with CMA, which one is better?
Bhakti, can you just repeat that question?
I am confused if I should go for BCom. Can you suggest which one is?
No, your voice is breaking, Bhakti.
I might just add there, Rajesh, I think the question might have been, if I can read between the lines, for someone who's confused between going for the BCom program and the BCom plus ACCA program. Is that correct, Becky? Is that the nature of the question?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Okay. Probably, ideally, I would definitely suggest BCom with ACCA. Now, this has got an opportunity for you to actually work in the best four consultancy firms at the age of 20. Now, if you see the last year, our 4 students graduated ACCA, 4 to 5 students graduated ACCA last year, completely graduated. They became ACCA qualified at the age of 21. The last year the results was 65% in ACCA, and this time it is almost like 52%. The last time we have actually were higher than the global average of 52%. So this is extremely good for as a student, and at the and we have an extremely good opportunity where we have something called as an BCom ACCA as a completely different specialization which you can go ahead. Now these are carried on by the best industry experts who teach in ACCA. They know very clearly the pattern of the question paper, how to get coached for the students. So this can actually fetch you better. And from an industry perspective, it is always better that you complete a professional degree at the age of 21 when you are fresh in the market. And I would definitely prefer BCom with ACCA. This has got a lot of value going, and the reason being, you can definitely work in the top 4 auditing firms, and the second is that you can go for an higher studies, and we have a lot of exemptions. This is very, very good from an ACCA point. The Manipal Academy of Dubai has been given around 13 papers exemptions in doing it. So this is also a good one.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh. Dr. Jason, we have a question coming in from Nihad. Are you offering a PhD in management for working professionals?
We would like to. At this stage, though, we only have the PhD. It's a 3-year program that's available on a full-time basis. We recognize that in this region of the world, there is scope for a part-time flexible PhD. We're working towards that. However, are not available at this point of time. It's a 3-year full-time program for the PhD.
And Dr. Jason, we have a question coming in from Geetu, which is, I think, on every student's mind. Are we going to start with online classes initially before starting full-fledged in September?
I think it's one of the opportunities we have at the moment there. That has been a fantastic opportunity to see the usefulness of using technology, and in our perspective there, it's not about whether it's online or whether it's face-to-face or whether it's blended. Is about what's the best way to achieve the learning outcomes for the subjects we're doing or the programs we're doing there. So while face-to-face has its advantages, particularly for the School of Business, I think we'll start to see a shift now towards ensuring that there's a more blended approach to enable students to have that work-life flexibility. I think as far as the classes are concerned, I think as of September, I'm not sure what the future holds there, but I think if we get something under control, we'll be back to more normal classes. But certainly until then, we'll be continuing doing the online classes. But the future is clear, that will be shifted more towards a blended learning environment using technology to enable students to learn wherever and whenever they want. That is definitely something we've noticed now. We've found that out from this experience we've had. So while challenging, it's also been a good learning experience for us and opens up immense opportunities for getting flexibility back into the learning for students.
Thank you, Dr. Jason. We also have a question coming in about the eligibility criteria or the entry requirements for courses. You choose to study. While all the details are available on our website, it would be best to connect with one of our admission officers and get more information on the same. You will also find an application link on the website. The admission officers will be there to guide you throughout the process. It is understood students and parents are confused. Enrollment journey that we all know that our admissions team is here to support you and guide you throughout the process all throughout. Dr. Jason, this is coming in for you.
Mm-hmm. Can you repeat that question? I didn't get it.
Yes, it's with regards to ACCA exemptions.
Yeah, so the ACCA, I think it's 13 papers, as Dr. Rajesh mentioned before, and MAHE Dubai has exemptions from, I believe, 8 of those papers. So the ACCA program, the ACCA courses that they study during their program here is essentially one of those additional papers per semester. So I think there's 8 exemptions out of the 13, and students will pick up the rest of those papers during their program if they're doing the ACCA BCom program there. If students choose to do the BCom, they still get the exemptions and they can choose to do those papers after they completed their BCom degree. So it's not an easy course. You've got to remember that effort needs to be put in when you want to do a BCom plus an ACCA. But as Dr. Rajesh said, the rewards are there, and definitely the recruiters really value that dual degree experience there and pick it up there.
Jason, I think we're running short of time today, so I'd like to thank all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Like I mentioned, the admissions team is always a bit. You can get in touch. Right? Admissions email ID, admissions.com. You can also arrange for a one-to-one video conferencing call to address any of. Thank you, Dr. Jason. Thank you, Dr. Rajesh.
Thank you. Thank you.